I will talk about the 3 chairs again and go a little deeper into it. Here we come into the world again and again. Open our eyes. And we are not aware that we are projecting this whole world we see. It's happening from the moment you open your eyes, your ears, whatever. It's because you're pure consciousness here. And consciousness starts appearing as forms and names. That's the world. The world starts arising. And some of the first thing that comes is you project the body. I am the body. And then what this body is experiencing, this is the 2 chairs, the duality. And more you learn to live in this first projection, this me, this ego, and it's totally forgotten that it comes from here. So we are also coming into the world innocent. I don't really know if we are awakened, but we are certainly innocent, and we start creating this world, and then we get lost in it. That's how it is. We create the world and then we get lost in it, and we learn language, we learn words, we learn how the other people are seeing the world. And when we are born in Denmark, we learn to see it as with the Western eyes that is different from the East. But we believe that this is how life is. That's why it's good also to travel, to come out and see other countries, how people there see the world. Because we think that this world we are experiencing and this language we have is the ultimate. So we start creating a world. Also the parents, they are also created by you. And so it comes out as a me and an object. It's a constant drama of life. Me and whatever this me is experiencing. Other people, the world, the water, whatever. You go to the moon, it's still you. And the moon is also your projection. Also the farthest planet is you. It's very radical, I know, but that's how it is. So you get totally identified as a person, as a subject, as a human being, as a man or a woman, and you learn to experiencing the world in a certain sense that is depending very much of your language. We have, in our language, in the Western language, there is no words for the deeper understanding of life. We don't have words for it. Carl Gustav Jung, that we played now, was one of the psychologists in the past that went deepest. We had Freud. Freud didn't go deeper than the first 2 chakras. It was very much about sex. So that was the first and the second chakra, very much. He didn't reach further. And then came Adler, and he reached up to the solar plexus. He was also quite a famous guy. And he started talking about power, that it is the main thing. And then came Jung, then he came up to the heart. Jung talked about that the first chakra is your parents. The second chakra is the inner man, inner woman. Also, that when we fall in love with that image we have deep in ourselves as an inner man or inner woman. And finally up to the heart. But he didn't really reach the total understanding of the heart. But he reached the farthest up of these early psychologists. I know it because I was studying them those days. So, unconscious of it, we create this incredible world we see. A me and what this me is experiencing. And we learn to live in this separation between me and what this me is experiencing. To wake up, we need to break this duality, this drama of separation. we do here. So when we wake up, we in a way come back here, but now we know we are not naive. Like the Zen master said, why on earth do I have to pass through all this pain just to get to a place I never really left? He talks about this. He's getting born, brought up in Japan, whatever that was 1,000 years ago, passing through this whole conditioning, what it is to be a Japanese citizen. And finally he started waking up and realizing, but my God, it's the same place. So this is the story. And when we sitting now and want to wake up, there is basically two ways. You can see that there is no object. Don't bother about the subject. Just see that there is no object. It's associated inquiry. It's impermanence. Really, really, really go deeply into your experiences and not thoughts, just your experiencing, your sensing. Then you will go down the layers until you wake up. I'll talk more about it later. Or you ask, but who am I? Who is experiencing? And you get to see that there is actually no I, there's ego, no ego here sitting. These are the two ways, and you can combine them, of course, but you must break this duality that we are living in. Me and the world, me and the body, me and feelings. We know nothing else. That's what we are conditioned to believe, and we learn it from our parents that lives in unconsciousness, and we come in school, they're also unconscious. And we are only among blind people. There is another Danish mystic, and it's quite amazing. He could wake up. He's from Langeland in Denmark. And Anker Larsen, yeah. Johannes Anker Larsen. I think he was born in 1876. I tell you this about these guys so you get inspired. He was born on a little island in Denmark, on a countryside. And he woke up. He loved to be in nature. Yeah. It's magical he could wake up sitting on this island and being among unconscious people. What he said later on, he said he liked mostly to be with the farmers because they were simple and close to nature. He liked to be with them, to see how they looked at the world, because it was more innocent, more not so much with the head. But there is some books about him and also about his awakening. Yeah. So either you see that there's no object or you see there's no subject. You may sit here, anger arises. You are sitting there and anger is coming. What most of you do is you start analyzing it. You start conceptualizing. You go into thoughts. And it means you are leaving the pure anger and you go into this other chair, which is thinking. And you don't wake up. You lose your time. Thinking, where is it coming from, how to get rid of it, and being against it. You leave the pure anger feeling and go into thinking. That's this chair. And you miss. If you could really stay with the anger, most likely you will go down the layers, inferiority maybe, and there will be a feeling of pain maybe, and sorrow, and feeling of dying, whatever. But don't go into this other chair with thoughts. Then you miss the point. That is one way, and suddenly you see there is no object. And when you see that, there's also no subject. And then you are here again. Oh, how could I get so lost? The whole world is lost like this. So we are a very rare species that are interested in waking up. Very rare. And very few wake up. There are people who also wake up and don't talk about it. Certainly. That go on living their life, and it's not everybody who sits and talks like me. So this is associated inquiry. You don't bother about the subject, the me, the I sense, not at all. You're only concerned about the object. Is it really true? Is it there? And you start really experiencing it without thinking. Then you come back here in an instant, in a moment. The other way, the big hindrance here, being here, is that you go into thoughts, into concepts. That is the pitfall with associated inquiry. You can't help to get caught by thinking thoughts. You had to stay in your senses, and your senses, and your senses. So the danger here is thoughts. Another way to awaken is that you don't bother about what the object is. You ask, who is aware of it? Who is experiencing it? Who am I? You are interested in this chair. Who is sitting there? Who am I? That is self-inquiry, atma-vichara, that is used a lot recently by people that has awakened, especially around Ramana and Papaji. It's self-inquiry. And self-inquiry comes from an old tradition from Advaita in India. Very old, even older than Buddhism. Then you don't bother about what the experience is, you ask, who's experiencing it? And the moment you ask this question about who's experiencing the anger, I am. Then there is already having a certain distance to the object. And then you go on asking, but who am I? And you can wake up this way to see that there is no I. The pitfall here, the danger here, is that you actually bypass something here, a feeling that you don't want to feel. You use it as a smart Hollywood way to get free. Who is aware of this anger? It won't help you. You can come out for a short moment, and then the anger pulls you in again because you haven't done your homework. And many sitting here working with self-inquiry, that they are actually do bypassing, spiritual bypassing. No, you cannot do it like that. Then you have to go and see this anger as a projection. When you work with this as a projection, then you can ask, who's aware of this? Because if you haven't done your homework, if you just use this self-inquiry as a smart way to try to avoid difficult feelings, it won't help you. They will pull you back again. So that's the pitfall here with self-inquiry, that you do spiritual bypassing. And you see it also with many of the people who had awakened recently. They're not really there. But many have come through self-inquiry because it is also a powerful way. So that's the two-way. The first one, the problem is that with associated inquiry that you end up in thinking, that you cannot avoid that. And the pitfall here with Atma Vichara, self-inquiry, is that you do spiritual bypassing. So it's really important that you understand this, that it's not a smart way that you can just avoid something you don't want to feel. You have to feel everything also. It's not a way to avoid what you feel, but it's a way of not being identified with the object. When you ask who's aware of this, I am, who am I? Then you also come back here. With self-inquiry, you keep on coming back, not exactly the same place, but in the pure consciousness. You keep on coming here and just sitting in, abiding as the pure self, like Ramana will say. just abiding, staying here in no thoughts. And the moment a thought comes, then you ask, who's aware of that thought? I am. Who am I? Again, you're coming out. So this is the two ways that you can awaken.